lot of the stuff that's going on in the news today about the Rothschilds, people have been saying that for years, but we've all been called tinfoil hat conspiracy theorists. But now the truth is starting to come out. Now the Rothschilds, the name means red shield or red flag. The original name, the family name, is Bauer, B-A-U-E-R. They started off in Hamburg, Germany on their banking part, but they are actually descended out of the ruling house of the Khazars that were pushed out of the central Russian region, Belarusian and stuff like that, into Western Europe, Poland, Germany, places like that. During the 11th and 12th centuries, I believe it was. But that was after the Khazars had a mass conversion to Judaism around the 5th or 6th century, somewhere in there. I'm kind of a little fuzzy on the exact dates or everything. It's just kind of general. But more specifically is in the 1800s, Rothschild, when he changed his family name from Bauer to Rothschild, had 5 sons. They required them to marry their daughters, marry his daughters or their sisters, so they could keep it in the family, I guess. And social Darwinism was very popular back then too. But you've got an inbred bunch of asswipes there, as far as I'm concerned, that think they have the right to run the world and run the rest of the show for everybody and dictate terms of existence for the people on the face of this planet. And that's a crock of shit from Jump Street. So they had their representatives that set up the Federal Reserve, and just all the banks of the world are set up, patterned on what the House of Rothschild wants, what the House of Rothschild does, because they control the bank. Baron Nathan Rothschild said, "You let me control the nation's currency, and I care not who makes the laws." So it doesn't matter who you elect to Congress or anything else. If you elect somebody that can be bought, they've got the money to buy them with because they own the bank. Paul Warburg was the one that designed the Federal Reserve System. Paul Warburg was a representative of the Rothschilds to oversee that. And the son of Paul Warburg, his Jr., was one who testified before Congress. I think it was in the late 40s or early 50s, and said, "You will have one world government, whether by consent or conquest." No, we're having one world government, but it's mostly by consent, but then people don't know what they're agreeing to. They're being fucked, is what it comes down to. Left and right. And you want to look around at the world situation, look at local stuff. Look at what's happening to your local government and everything else. Stack that up with the Rothschilds' plan of taking over the world and their plans for taking over the world. Baron Nathan Rothschild paid Karl Marx, I think it was £500, to cancel checks on display in a museum in London to write the Communist Manifesto. It's a plan for consolidation of power of the ruling class. So you've got this ruling class here, the House of Rothschild, and Baron Nathan Rothschild's the one too that took over the Bank of England shortly by subterfuge after Wellington defeated Napoleon at Waterloo. And that's an interesting story on that. You can find the book free if you want to read about it online. It was by Eustace Mullins, called Secrets of the Federal Reserve. It's got a lot more depth and a lot more insight into it than the book The Creature from Jekyll Island, which was written for the popular dumbed down public that we have today. I mean, you look at the reading level of the public. The reading level has dropped. What you have is a high school or 12th grade reading level today. When I was in high school, this is considered a 6th grade reading level. So what is the 6th grade reading level today? 6th grade reading level is about a 2nd grade reading level from when I was in. You start to screw people up as far as what you require of them to gain an education, start giving it away because we don't want to compete. You shouldn't have to compete. You shouldn't have to do this. You shouldn't have to do that. We're going to make excuses for your behavior type thing. Well, that's all part of the plan. I mean, even Ronald Reagan, and I liked Ronnie, he was as good a president as we've had. Of course, we haven't had any really good presidents since they started assassinating him, like JFK in Dallas in '63, which was basically a coup d'etat. And we've had a military off military fascism in this country for many, many years. Well, this goes hand in hand with all this Rothschild crap. You just have to start tying the knots together.
Historically speaking, what is the relationship between the Rothschild family and Russia?
The Rothschilds, let's go back to this thing here. The name means red shield or red flag in German. It comes from the red flag that hung outside of Daddy Bauer's gold pawn shop, basically. It was in Hamburg, Germany, before they branched out and started taking over and setting up the banks in all these other countries. Now, you look at what took place historically. Most people think of the Soviet Union as being, well, that took place in this one big revolution, but actually there was several revolutions that took place. And eventually it resolved itself to, there was a constitutional democracy that was established in Russia, and then it broke out into civil war between what were called the Red Russians and the White Russians. The United States supported the White Russians up to the point that we abandoned a bunch of troops over there that wound up in gulags in Siberia. The red flag that represented the communists, that's the red shield, the Rothschild. It's their symbol. It's the red flag is the symbol of the ruling house of the Khazars. They're taking over the Soviet, and what was Russia, driving out the Tsars and all like that, was just the return of the Rothschilds to their ancestral home, their ancestral reign, and their original kingdom. Nothing to that. I mean, you look at history. People that have these laws that pass down things word of mouth and all like that, they always have an agenda towards recapturing past glory from the family or whatever. And so they've done it, but now they've taken over just about the whole goddamn world. You talk about the New World Order, you can't separate the Rothschilds.
I've read recent reports. The last couple of years, there's been a lot more dealings between the Rothschilds and China. So their tentacles are a little more expansive than what some people know.
Well, ever since Nathan Rothschild took over the Bank of England, they've been the bankers for the House of Windsor, the Queen of England. And what position have they got her in? They've got her in a position where she has controlling interest in about 80% of world food production. She's deep into Monsanto too, the GMOs and all that crap that they're trying to, the poisons they're trying to give us to create a slow death. But no, the Rothschilds having inroads into China, that's nothing new. You've got two basic structures in this world today that you cannot escape. One is, and they all go back at least 6,000 years. And the western side, it goes back to Sumeria, or Shumeria, however you want to pronounce it. On the Chinese Oriental side, it goes back into the ancient Chinese dynasties and the way they were established, and this, that, and the other. But you cannot separate the past from the present as what is going on. And what you have now with the House of Rothschild is they're trying to come up to peaceful agreements on how they're going to divide and rule the world. And it's divide and rule. That's the way they're going on about things. It's basic premises of the Hegelian dialectic, the antithesis, thesis, and synthesis. Have you noticed they never allow a synthesis to take place? We had communism and capitalism fighting each other. But was there ever a resolution to the difference in the socioeconomic views? No. Because they don't want it to take place. If they keep people at each other's throats, then they don't have to worry about those people turning around and seeing who's pulling the puppet strings. So, here we have these people that are pulling the puppet strings, and they've been doing it successfully for probably 6,000 years. Now they want to consolidate their world power even more. They don't mind us having wars so long as it doesn't affect their wealth. I mean, you know, the Chase Manhattan Bank out of New York, which was part of their whole structure, continued to use the Bank for International Settlements in Basel, Switzerland, or Basel, Switzerland. Again, pronunciation. You got to remember, I come from South Alabama, and I can fracture words like a feathermucker. But this this whole thing here. Let me let this truck get by. He's bigger than I am. He'd run over mine. There's a car after him too. Anyway, this whole thing here with world control and all like that, it's a reality. You just have to figure out what you're going to do about it. There is a way that you can fight back, but you cannot fight back in their battlefield. You got to take it to a higher level. And the only way you do that is with your own spiritual development. You cannot do it by going into their courts and things like that without you have a strong spiritual base that you're working from. I guarantee you they have a spiritual base. Just because they have a spiritual base does not mean it's a good thing. I can have a spiritual base that is built upon rape, loot, and slaughter. Hey, that sounds about like what they're doing, isn't it? Okay, good enough for now. I've talked out.